Hey there, Citizen Pally here, and welcome back. It's time for a tutorial video. This is going to be, I guess this is technically part 2 of a tutorial series where I'm going to go in depth into specific elements of Star Citizen and how to use them, how to get around some of the known bugs on them, and so on. It's kind of part 2 because the part 1 would be the overall this is where to begin with, which is a much longer video. I will link it in the description down below. I'll try to remember to tag it up above here also in the clip. And in that one, that's like the first 45 minutes. That's all your basic controls, getting your ship off the landing pad, and so on. If you don't know how to do that, this video is going to be a little too far in advance for you. What we're going to focus on here today, though, is quantum travel. All the little nuances within quantum travel that I have learned, and some known workarounds for when it doesn't behave the way it's supposed to. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get into it. To begin with, we are just out here. This is Hurston. We're coming up out of it. This is the free fly weekend, right? Not free fly, but the Gladius has been loaned to everyone, and this is a ship that I do adore. If you go back and watch my Gladius tour of duty video, not so much this variant. I don't really care for whatever. The livery skin is nice over the base. The weapon loadout by default is okay. You got a front repeater on the front there, and then you get 2 heavy lasers under the wings. It's fine, but this is just one of the best ships to fly. It really is a satisfying ship to fly, but we can go ahead and get back in here in the first person. I'm not here to talk about the ship too much, other than to let you know, yeah, actually by the time this video goes up, it'll be past that. So don't worry about that. You'll have already missed your chance to fly this ship in the verse. It's only up for the weekend. Okay, so to begin with quantum travel, there's 2 keybinds we got to get familiar with. The first keybind, and perhaps the most important of the keybinds, is the B key. By default keyboard loadouts, even advanced keyboard loadouts, if you press the B key and you are in deep space, you're not in the atmosphere of a planet or moon or whatever, it should bring up all these icons around your hood like this. And if we start to look towards these, we'll see you got different ones. There's circle ones for different locations. Some of them will be diamond. It really depends on the size of what they are. So these little range points are diamonds. The planets and stuff like that, the moons, are circles until we mouse over them until they change everything. So these are different locations we can actually quantum travel to. Pressing the B key, what it does is it opens up, basically starts your nav computer. It also spools up your quantum drive. So if we look here at Ariel, this is one of the moons out here around Hurston. If I press the B key again, it's going to turn that off. If I press it one more time, it'll turn it on. And then you'll see here at the top, the quantum drive system is spooling up. On the left is basically your nav computer calibrating your route. Maybe it's something different, but that's basically the way I look at it. It's your engine getting ready to jump, and then your nav computer plotting that route. If we move over to somewhere else, our engine's already spooled, so we don't have to worry about the engine spooling, but it does have to recalculate because it's going to a different destination. So that's the B key. Any of the orange ones, those we cannot jump to for one reason or another. Generally, it's going to be obstructed. So right now, orbital marker 6 is obstructed by the curvature of the planet, so we can't jump over to him. We have to jump to something else and then go. We could probably jump out to a different orbital marker and then come back. We'll talk about orbital markers in a little bit. So that's the B key. The other one we want to deal with is F2, which is our star map or skyline. You can also get to this by pressing F1, which will show this screen here, and then selecting it down here. It's kind of the middle button called skyline. So this is going to be where you actually plot in routes. It's going to give you some information on your current fuel required, or how much fuel you have and what the required is. Depending on where you're at when you first open this up, you're not going to see a whole lot, and that's because you're zoomed in awfully far. You can roll the mouse wheel to zoom out, but another easier way to do it is actually just double right click. And if you double right click, it's going to zoom out really far, where you can then like right click to drag around, left click to manipulate, and you can double left click to zoom back in. We can also up here, we can click this button that's going to zoom us back in on our ship. Our ships currently don't actually have an icon on the map, which is a little annoying, but we'll roll back and forth out. So yeah, this is going to be like, okay, we wanted to travel out. Let's say we want to go to this comm array. We can click it. We can set our route. We'll see up here our current hydrogen fuel, 583.33, and that requires 0.53 fuel. Maybe that's what we're going to be left over with. We'll see here. So let's go ahead and we'll press F2 to close that out. Inside this screen here, let me unlock our free look. Right over here is our quantum fuel. This is going to be different for all the different ships. On a Cutlass Black, it tends to be down here at the bottom of this. But this is currently our quantum fuel that we have available. Look for QF. Another little breakdown. So on the left here, this is our thrust. That's the left one right there. So we're at 20% thrust, 100% thrust, our speed. The right one is our hydrogen fuel. So if I hold down the afterburner, you see the afterburner flashing there. You'll see that went down to 99, 98. So we are burning through the hydrogen fuel, but this ship does have a scoop, so it's refilling it. That's just some basics of that. Anyway, let's relock the view. Since we have locked in a destination we want to go to, when we press the B key now, rather than getting all of these icons, the only one that we're going to actually see is the one for our next destination en route. So we only have orbital marker 1. Gets rid of a lot of the extra hood noise by doing that. If we look over here, we can go ahead and once it's calibrated, we hold down B then. Once you're calibrated and spooled, hold down B, and we'll go ahead and quantum travel. I didn't actually pay attention, but in order to get out to this, it's giving us actually 2 routes. So we had to use an orbital marker to get around the curvature of the planet. Now that we're out to an orbital marker, now we can go ahead and aim towards the actual comm array. We'll go ahead and calibrate it. Once it's done, we can hold down B and go again. There was a point where sometimes you didn't have to wait for everything to fully finish. You could hold down B and it would just jump. That seemed to have been a bug. Perhaps later on down the line, it might be quote-unquote a feature where you could quantum jump before your computer is fully calibrated. Say you're doing a very long jump, and it's taking a while to calibrate, and you're under attack. So maybe you have to make a rush jump, and you're only 75% calibrated. That may be something that comes down the line, but by doing so, you have a percent error. So you might, jump into a location you don't actually want to go. You're only within 30% range of where it could have been compared to if you let it fully calibrated. I'm just guessing there. But there was a point where you didn't have to wait for it to fully finish. And as long as your engines were spooled, you could then jump. So let's go ahead and we'll turn here. Demonstration here, you don't actually have to have a coordinates locked in. If you want to, you can just aim over it and the exact same thing here. So this is one of the moons. We'll jump out here to the moon of Ida. And again, we didn't have a coordinate locked in. We can do this. Just using the star map makes it a lot easier to find the target you're looking for, as once we get here, we'll turn around, you'll see there's just a lot of icons. So it can be a pain in the butt if you're trying to find, I'm trying to go to Delamar. Well, where the hell is Delamar? It's somewhere this direction, but there's just icons all over my screen. It can be hard to find them. So that's kind of what the star map is best used for. So let's go ahead and turn it back on again. Come on. There's a drive. There we go. So now you can see just all these icons back up here. So finding which one of these is Delamar. I don't know. Let's see. So if Hurston's this way, it's probably out this way. Probably in that big cluster over there. Nope, that's Hurston, so it's not that way. It's probably this way then? I don't know. It's somewhere out there. That can be very difficult. Okay. So that's the basics of how it works. Now some of the greater nuances around it. Here we are, we're around, what did we jump to, Ida or whatever? First, the orbital markers. So we did see them already. Right there's an orbital marker 1. Every moon, every planet, all of your larger planetary bodies have orbital markers around them. At least all of them in the game so far. We don't know if that's going to be something specific on certain planets later on, but right now they all have orbital markers. There's 6 of them in total. 1 on each pole, and then 4 around the equator, 90 degrees off of each other. So from any one position, you should be able to jump to 4 of them. 1 on the north, south, east, west, whatever from where you're looking. So we have orbital marker 1, and there should be another one out here, orbital marker 4, one kind of down below us, which should be whatever, 2. And then somewhere off here to the left, there should be another one. There it is. Orbital marker 6. So pretty much no matter what location you're at, you should have 4 orbital markers you can get to. And you can use this, say you're looking for an odd location down on that moon, that planet, whatever. Let's jump back in here. We're on Ida. So, Ida has like 1 landing spot. Let's not worry about that landing spot. But say, it looks like it actually has 2 landing spots. But say you just want to get down here. You know what? This area right over here looks kind of cool. This little, looks like there's a peninsula there or something. Actually, this massive landmass over here looks kind of cool. So we're approaching it from here. If we want to get here, there's nothing for us to go to. Well, we can kind of use the orbital markers to get closer. That way we're not quantum traveling, but afterburning, several thousand kilometers. We can kind of limit it down to maybe several hundred. So if we want to go over there, we're going to look and we'll jump to this orbital marker. Whoops, I didn't have to turn it off. It was already enabled. Let it spool up. I forgot how slow this engine spool on this thing. And then we'll jump. And this way we can jump a little bit closer. The orbital markers only show up if you do not have a destination locked in, and only if you're within quote-unquote orbit of that astral body. If you're a few thousand kilometers out, well, probably more than 10,000 kilometers out, you're not going to see the orbital markers. I don't know the exact distance. So you have to be relatively close to the moon or whatever in order to see them. But you also have to not have anything selected within the star map. If you have something selected in the star map, you're not going to be able to see those because it's just calculating, similar to before, it's removing them from what you can see. So you can use those. Now, you don't need to use them if you actually have a known location. So this HDMS rider, for example, let's actually use the one on the other side because it's a little bit easier. So over here, the HDMS Woodruff. We can actually jump to this Woodruff directly. We can go ahead and press set route. We'll close out of here. And now we can actually see that location. Well, we can just aim at that, even though it's on the other side of the planet, moon, from where we're at. The system will actually calculate us around. It'll take us around the curvature and bring us back in. Your calibration does go faster if your engine's spooling. I don't know why I wasn't spooling the engine there. Well, I do know. I was talking and distracted. So once this is done, if we press and hold, it's going to go ahead and quantum travel us around the curvature of the planet, and it'll bring us in above it. Now, where you come out of quantum travel on these things mostly depends on the thickness of the atmosphere of that astral body you're around. If you're around Hurston, which has an atmosphere of about 100 kilometers, in fact, it's exactly 100 kilometers, you're going to come out 15 to 20 kilometers above that. So you come out around 115 kilometers from the location. Generally, the moons here, they have an atmosphere of about 30 kilometers, and then you come out another 15 kilometers above on that, so you come out around 45 to 50 kilometers, give or take. It's different for all the different bodies. Some of them are 30, some of them are 40, 45. They tend to change, but you can see there we're 52 kilometers now from Woodruff. We could get there relatively easily. So you can actually use that to directly travel to known locations that you're going to. They have to be a location you can actually see in the star map. You can also get a little cheeky with this. If we come back in here, let's go back to the other one. So it was Woodruff. Where's the other location? Ryder. We're going to set a route to Ryder. We'll turn around. And you can cancel yourself out of quantum travel before you get there by holding down the B key. I think it's hold. It might be spam. So let's calibrate up. And we'll jump. And once we start jumping, we're going to spam the beam key once we're in. And we can actually cancel our quantum travel early. Okay, here we go. We're going to wait until we start getting into the curvature, so we're actually moving. And now I'm holding the B key, and we're coming out of it. Takes it a moment, but there we go, we're out. So now, if we look, where's Ryder at? Right there is Ryder. You can see we're still 323 kilometers around. We didn't actually go. So we canceled out the quantum drive before we wanted to. And you can do that pretty much whenever you want. So you can use this to jump between orbital markers. This is how a lot of people find Junktown, where you can buy Widow for trading. Basically, you line up between two orbital markers and you know roughly the position between it, and you jump for one and then you hold to cancel out to get a little bit closer to it. So that's another thing you can do. Okay, moving on. Let's see. The next thing I guess we're going to get into, that's the basics of how it works. That's how you're supposed to be able to use it. Some known issues that happen. Well, what'll happen a lot of times is, see orbital marker 6 right here. It's obstructed, but it's kind of just barely obstructed. What can happen is you'll go ahead and you'll have a destination locked in. Whoops. Let's close that out. Oh, darn it. We maybe just crashed it. Nope, we're still in. Okay. Actually, let's talk a little bit about that right there. So there'll be a point every once in a while where you go ahead and you try and open the Moby glass. And you'll get what happened there. It kind of opens and then closes and then doesn't reopen again and everything, and you don't see anything. If that happens, just take a deep breath, take a moment. If you're flying through chop or something, it seems to be a broken animation, like your character was maybe bouncing around in their seat or something, so as they were trying to raise the Moby glass, their animation kind of broke, and you get that. If you start spamming the F1, F2 keys trying to get it open or whatever, you're probably going to time out your connection. You're going to get disconnected from the server. So if that happens, just take a moment, let things calm down, and then reopen it. But don't spam your F1, F2 keys unless you're trying to get disconnected from the server. And that does tend to be an unrecoverable disconnect in my experience. You don't get back in. You got to spawn into a new instance of the server. But let's just say, okay, we're somewhere over here. We wanted to go to this comm array. And we're going to set route. Depending on how the path might go, sometimes you get this weird effect where something is right on the border of the curvature of a body that is going to obstruct it. But the nav computer doesn't always calculate as obstructed. So you'll look at it, it'll be a green dot like this, but when you actually mouse over it, it'll be obstructed within the actual jump. And what happens is you'll spool up and then you'll sit here and you'll press and hold the B key and nothing will happen. You'll just hold the B key and nothing will happen. Well, when that happens, there's several things that you can try. Number one, if it does look like there's something in the way, you go ahead and jump in, plot route to something different, choose a different location that's kind of off to a different angle. That way you can cut the corner and get to a different angle. You know, you remove the chance or reduce the chance of it being obstructed. So that's one thing that can happen. Now, not always is it a problem with something being obstructed. Sometimes the server just seems to get confused and doesn't really do that. So you'd be sitting here and you'd be holding down the B key, everything's looking good while you're not going. If that happens, the other number two option you can do is just kind of fly off in a different direction for about 10 seconds. Just go ahead and fly this way. I also like to despool my quantum drive. So we can do that there, or we could also just press B, despool the drive. After you fly off for a little bit, come back, realign to it, respool the drive, and then try it again. Most of the time, that will fix it for me. I would say about 80% of the time, doing this will allow me to quantum travel again. This gets rid of a lot of the major problems. Not always all of them. Sometimes you'll still sit there and there's no obstruction or whatever, and you still press B and nothing happens. If that doesn't fix it, the next one that I've found that will fix it is go ahead and clear out the route. So come in, clear out the route entirely, come back in, fly around for a second or two, then go back in, set route to wherever it is you're trying to go, and try it again. Between the two of those, the fly in the opposite direction, clear the route, and then reset the route, I would say 85 to 90% of the time that fixes the problem of the quantum drive not working, and then I'm able to go ahead and quantum drive again. The other 10-ish% of the time, if you're in a multi-crew ship or just a ship with an area to get out into, a deck that you can walk around in, not just a cockpit, I like to shut down the ship, get out, walk back out of the ship for a second, then get back into the cockpit or into the pilot's seat and give it another try. Can't really do that in a single-seater fighter like this. We're kind of stuck in there. We'd have to just actually climb out of the ship in the EVA, which is fine, but it's a little bit of overkill. If none of that works, what is likely going on is a server issue. The server is likely starting to bug out, starting to break, and your best bet is to just exit out of that server, come back in, try a different server, and hopefully get a new server that does work. Those tend to be the common fixes for getting around that. Let's see, what else do we need to talk about for quantum drives? Oh, speeds. These little jumps here between moons and comm arrays and everything like that, not a big deal. They're relatively fast. But say we actually wanted to quantum travel a big distance. Right now, a big distance is still within Star Citizen, or relatively small. Let me turn away from this just so we're not listening to that. But like the long distance that you're going to be traveling is generally Hurston to Crusader. Well, in a fighter like this Gladius here, that's going to take 7 to 8 minutes. This is determined not by the speed of the ship, but by the size of the quantum drive it has. We can see this. We come in here to the Vehicle Loadout Manager. The Gladius is selected here. Propulsion, quantum drive. Down here you'll see a size 1 quantum drive. For the most part, all your single-seater fighters have size 1 drives. I don't know of any exceptions. There's a few out there that might have it, like the Gladiator, is the Gladiator or the Bomber? The Gladiator might have a different drive. There might be a few odd ones. But for the most part, all your size 1 fighters have a size 1, or your single-seater fighters have a size 1 drive. And they're all going to travel roughly the same speed within quantum. There are different qualities of these drives. Like they come in, they're size 1, but then there's military grade, there's, premium grade, there's different grades of them. It's hard to really test because you have to have two ships with the same, different drives or the same class, all that moving along, and then you have to jump at the same time, but they're within margin of error of each other. Size 2 ships then, so starting with like your Cutlass Black. The Cutlass Black is going to have size 2 quantum drive, and it's going to travel roughly 33% faster than a ship with a size 1 drive. This is your Cutlass, your Freelancers, your Vanguard, any of those medium-sized ships are going to have the size 2 drive. This also includes your Constellations. So where's the Connie? Right there. So Constellation also has a size 2. Size 3 drives start with like your Hammerhead, the larger ships, the Hammerhead, the Reclaimer, the Starfarer. Those have size 3 quantum drives. They are roughly 33% faster than a size 2 drives or 66% faster than a size 1 drive. So like for us to go to Hurston from here, like I said, 7 to 8 minutes. For a size 2 drive, it's going to be about 6 minutes. For a size 3 drive, it's going to be about 4 minutes. The Idris, the really big capital ships, are probably going to have size 4. There's a few unknowns like the Polaris, where's that can actually fit in there. We'll see that later on. But this here is going to be determined of how fast you quantum travel overall. It has nothing to do with the actual speed of the ship. I guess lastly would be refueling your quantum fuel. So you can see here you have our quantum fuel is down to 5A2. We haven't used up a whole lot, but if we were traveling back and forth from Crusader to Hurston, we could go through and use up a lot of quantum fuel. To do that, you're looking at the Lagrange points. So this HUR-L1, HUR-L2, Crusader L3, these are Lagrange points. At these Lagrange points, there's a bunch of them all around. There are rest stops, R&R stops. So let's go ahead. We're going to set a route out here to this one. It won't take too long to travel to. Close that out. Oh, yeah, close. Come on. All right, F1. Okay, it's being a little bit of a pain in the butt. We're just going to take a second here. We don't want to crash it out now, not after I've recorded all this. There we go. I didn't actually do anything. Just let it do its own thing. Okay, now we'll turn. We'll line towards this. This will probably take about 40 seconds or so to jump to. I'd imagine it's 14 quantum fuel, 1,300 kilometers, or 1 million. 1 million. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump that. Okay, here we go. We are now at the Lagrange point, and we can already see it. Right there is the R&R stop. Depending on where you come out at, if you're coming towards one that the sun's in your face, it can be tough to see. What you can do to find these, to make it a little bit easier, press tab to open your scanner. Charge up the scanner with the left click, let it go. It will light up with a block. That can make it a little bit easier to find. Now, you don't technically need to go to an R&R stop in order to refuel your quantum fuel. Any place, for the most part, that I've found that has a landing service, so Port Olisar, Levski, Grim Hex, Hurston, all those places, well, not just Hurston, Lorville in Hurston. Any place that has a landing service, you can get quantum fuel. You can also get hydrogen fuel. The R&R stops, though, plus ones like Grim Hex, though, are the only ones that sell ammo. You're not getting ammo, so if you fired off missiles or you have ballistics-based weapons on your ship, you're not actually able to refuel those at Port Olisar, at Lorville. They don't sell ammo like that. The R&R stops here, they do sell that. So we'll come in here, come down to a stop. Go ahead and open. All right, Moby Glass. There we go. Open it, contacts, R&R landing service. Please proceed to assigned landing. Took it a little bit. There we are. Okay. Oh. There's a Vanguard. But as we come in here, once we land... Proximity alert. Deck. Automated landing initiated. Boy, this thing flies so well. It's such a fun ship. I don't know why I don't have one. I really should have one. Yeah, it lacks a little bit of punch, but... it's such a good ship to fly. So once we've landed now, in order to refuel and all that stuff, go ahead and open your Moby Glass again. And now you're going to be looking for the wrench icon, the vehicle maintenance service. You're going to open this up. Actually, they don't have... oh, we haven't used any ammo or anything, so we can't really do that. But over here, you can see we could recharge our quantum fuel. I'm not going to worry about hydrogen. That refuels on its own, so do that. But that would be how you get quantum fuel back. You can also get quantum fuel back by just insurance claiming your ship. It's kind of a cheesy way to do it, but if you've really used up all of your quantum fuel and it's going to cost you 3,000 credits or whatever to refuel it for a larger ship. Go ahead and just insurance claim it. You come back with full quantum fuel, full ammo, and all that other stuff there. And I think that pretty well does it. That's the basics of the quantum system. Quantum drives helps you get around. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments down below. Next subject will probably be the, what's it called? The crime stat. We're going to go over crime stat, resetting it, how you get it, and all that other stuff. That'll be next week. Until then, though, this has been Powder. Thanks for watching.